Good morning, country living friends. It's Sleepy Eyes in the garden again. It is not yet 7 o'clock. It's already in the upper 70s, and we're in for another super hot, humid, dry day. It's been really hot and really dry here for at least the last 6 weeks. I think we've had one significant rain to speak of, so my garden has been surviving with the watering that I've been providing. Now, it's a pancake breakfast morning. I can't be out here long. I have to get back in and make breakfast. But I'll probably still end up spending 20 to 30 minutes watering everything, at least going around from area to area and turning on and off different stuff. So I thought I'd show you while I was out here the different items that I like and don't like and what I'm making do with for this garden season when it comes to watering the garden. So let's go. We will start with the good old-fashioned sprinkler. This is the best one I've had in years. I've tried lots of different types, and this one is from Lowe's. It did cost a little bit more. Let's see, the brand name is Orbit. It has lasted, I think this is the second or third summer. It does a great job. I don't have any clogging issues. I don't have issues with the rotator not working. I love it. I have another one in the shed in case this one breaks, but I haven't had any issues with it. So the way that I use this is any areas where I don't have tomatoes. There's some tomatoes. So I make the rotation stop just about at the edge. Sometimes the little edge of the tomatoes will get hit, but I'm not worried about that in the morning. But I use this anywhere where I want to cover a lot of ground pretty quickly. I don't have any irrigation in my ground beds. We were in a hurry when we built these. Well, I don't know if we were in a hurry, but it was kind of an afterthought, and I just didn't care to add more labor. On my husband's part, I said, I don't need in-ground irrigation. I'll just take care of it myself. So that's what I do. I'm perfectly happy with it. We do have irrigation in all the wall beds, which we'll go over in a bit. But I use this sprinkler right now, and it covers this entire end of the garden, basically, and it's actually also covering the walls for me, but it's getting all these beds wet. There isn't anything in these as of this moment. I will be putting seeds in tomorrow, but that is why I like having the sprinkler over here. So while the seeds are getting started and germinating, I can very easily keep them wet all day long. Just come out and turn that sprinkler on a couple times. So that's good for covering a large area anywhere without tomatoes. That's my best opinion and use for it. I did have it down there a few weeks ago. I noticed, I pointed out in the last video, because I had corn starting, and so I wanted to keep that whole area damp for a while. Pinto beans and corn, and it did a great job. And again, I had the sprinkler on this side, and I made it stop just before the tomatoes over here, so it just covered that area. So that is how I use the ground sprinkler, and I turned that one on right here at this faucet, and it will water for me. All right, over the years, I have collected 3 different types of soaker hoses. And this one, the way I would describe it is it's kind of like an asphalt feeling material. And it's a very gentle soaker. It doesn't spray anything out unless you get a hole in it, like right here. The whole line is broken. Okay, well, that one's going in the trash. Earlier, it was just a crack, and I knew this wasn't a good sprinkler. This was going to be its last season, and I just covered the crack up with a brick. So, I don't know how long that's been happening. This end of the bed hasn't been getting watered. Let me turn that off real quick. So, I was going to say, either way with this line, this is really a one-season kind of garden hose. Because it dries and gets pretty brittle in the sun and cracks. Like at the end of last year, this had like a hole, like a crack in it, and it was just spraying water out the side. So I guess it went ahead and cracked the rest of the way this summer. Okay, so we're gonna replace that water line with a new hose if we have it. If not, this bed will make do the rest of summer without. It's not a big hardship on me. This type of hose is another soaker hose, but it's a fabric kind of material, and you can see that randomly throughout the fabric or whatever's in there kind of weakens, and you might have big spots that come out, and other places it just gently leaks out. So I think these are about 3 years old. I don't think they're less than 3. I'm going to go with they're 3 years old. Actually, I will look on my receipt from Lowe's if I have it digitally and tell you how old these are. Just so you know. You can attach other ones to the end and make it longer, but I would say it would lower the pressure the longer you made the line. So one problem with the hose is if it gets kinked at a pretty tight angle, just like a regular garden hose would, it cuts down on the pressure coming out further down the line. So I usually check these pretty often and make sure they're more in a softer circle so that when the water turns on and the hose fills up, it's able to flow all the way down. But they're decent. I don't know that I would buy any more of them. And you see how it's puddling? It's puddling here, it's puddling there because that's where the hose has little weak spots in it. But everywhere else, it just drips real gently. Look, it died. The whole pumpkin, the whole winter squash plant died. Not surprised. Squash bugs are evil. And the way I get the water into my ground bed, since they're in the middle of the garden, is I have a solid, like 6-foot hose that attaches here. And it runs down. And then when I have to mow the garden, I'll just unhook the hose, throw it up on the fence, and then I can cut the garden bed. Now my favorite soaker hose, but also the most expensive one, I got this one from Gardener's Supply, and you can go look and see how expensive they are. But it's a really good rubber that you can tell is not going to have problems for a long, long time being in the sun. And you can either leave it above the ground and it will drip, but at some spots it also kind of sprays the water out like a mist, or you could bury it, just put a little dirt on top and it would soak right into the dirt. So that's what I used in the bed this year with the tomatoes and onions and the tomatoes and carrots. And I love them. I am going to be asking for that on a Christmas wish list, and I would like to have more of them because everywhere I want a soaker hose, which is anywhere I don't want overhead rain. So I don't want anything overhead on the tomatoes. And I have about 60 some tomatoes this year, so there's a lot of ground to cover. Love the soaker hoses. As I get more, I might even put 2 in these beds, 2 hoses instead of 1. So I had the same soaker hose over here, but I took it out because I wanted to use it for the corn. So I've been watering these by hand, and I'll show you how I do that in a moment. But the same soaker hose is over here. And I just made a loop with it. It connects at the wall there, goes around. So I planted corn on both sides of it. So I have 4 rows of corn with 1 soaker hose. And hopefully that will see it through the summer and keep the roots nice and moist. You can almost see the spraying action. Let me see if you can see it. It kind of puts a mist up from the ground when you don't have it buried. Good morning, little frog. So that's my favorite soaker hose, mostly because I know the material is going to last a long, long time. It's not going to dry out. Here I have one more of the fabric ones. This one's probably in the worst condition. I don't know, 3, maybe 4 years old. But it's really faded and pretty weak. But it's doing what I need it to do in this bed right now, which is keep the zucchini moist. So let me show you. See, that one's got kind of a leak at the front of it. Oh, this might not last much longer. It swells up from a flat soaker hose to a big round one. And because I know it's not the best, that's why I have it doubled and tripled back. So I'm trying to work this little kink out here. There we go. So we're getting a lot of water here where I don't need it, but it's still watering the rest of the bed pretty decently. Okay. Now, those are the 3 soaker hoses that I have. So fabric, whatever kind of rubber this is, and then the asphalt type one, which is going to be gone now. I'm not going to have any more of those. I think that's the last one I have. I invested in these when we started the garden wall. We do have irrigation run to each bed, but I haven't put these in every bed because sometimes the shape's a little weird. It's a little awkward. And this one I made a circle shape with it, which is good enough for what I need right here. But when I have to, I do just spray it by hand. So the thing about these is, as long as you can see these emitters and you have access to them, which you lose access to them when your plants get really big, as long as you can see them, then you can know if they're working correctly and you can adjust them. So let's go to another bed. I don't want to water this one right now, and I'll try to give you an example. Here's another bed where I tried out another circle. This one's a little smaller, so I'm not wasting so much water hitting the brick. It stays in the dirt. And here's the bed I'm going to show you. Let me get set up. So anytime I want to use these waterers, I have to be able to keep an eye on them. So every time I turn them on, so let's see. All right, you see how this one's running really well, this one's going well, that one's okay. But this one has nothing but a dribble coming out. Same there, same here. Randomly, every time I start this, different ones will work well and different ones won't. So while you can see it and have access to it, it's easy just to come, give a little twist, and they work again. Sometimes the pressure that comes out is so much that these little caps will pop off. And you get that. You get that big spray of water coming out. So if you turn it on and you're not checking, that might happen. So as long as you can find this, sometimes the water shoots it off pretty far, but usually it's near the hole. And you can just put it back on again. All right, so those are all doing their water emitting right now. And again, I like this for the thoroughness and how much water it puts out right where you want it, because a lot of times I'll plant my seeds based on where the emitters are, so I know that they're going to get watered right at the roots. The problem I have is when the plants get big, I had this problem with the potatoes this spring. You can have ones that bust off. You can have ones that aren't even giving any water at all. And you really don't know unless you pull your plants back and search. And a lot of times your plants grow over the line and hide it, and you just can't see it. So some of my potato beds, I think, got a little bit too dry because they weren't getting the water they needed. And that matters in the raised beds, because raised beds are automatically drier than your ground beds. They lose moisture faster. So these are okay. I put up with them. I don't like them once the plants get big. I would like to eventually replace them, probably with the rubber soaker hoses that I like. But that becomes an issue because my beds are all different sizes. And so I like this because I could make the piping the size that I wanted. I could cut it to size, and then I could put the emitters where I wanted. So I'm keeping these for now, is what I have. I don't want to invest in any other kind of drip line. I can't get anything really big, like I said, because if it draped from bed to bed, then you're putting a lot of water where it doesn't even need to be. So I'm making do. But I recognize that once the plants get really big, I might have to stick a hose in here every now and then and just water the whole area in case these aren't watering evenly. So that's what I have in this strawberry bed. And see, once they're underneath the greens, you'd really have to spread them back to find out what's there. And then when we need to fill a bed up, which we will fill this one up before fall, it's easy just to lift these and throw them to the side, refill the bed, and put it right back. I have the same thing in this strawberry bed. And those emitters that I showed you, the little twisty ones, that's one type you can have. Here, I'll turn this one on so you can see. And this is the other type of emitter. So see, this one's not even working. I don't know if I can do it one-handed. So it's definitely a two-handed job when you have to adjust these, and sometimes you still don't get water out. Yep. So give it a chance to clean out whatever dirt might have been in there. Put it back on. So this is another type of emitter that you can put here, and that just like dribbles the water out instead of spraying it. And you can make it spray, they say up to 3 feet, but you lose pressure. I have 3 lines here, all running from one hose. So the pressure can get weaker the further down. So in this instance, where I have this really long bed, I'm getting to the point where I don't like this irrigation because it loses pressure so easily, and I have so many emitters that I have to adjust almost every time I turn this on to water. So I end up hand watering this a lot more often. This bed would do much better with a drip irrigation or the soaker hose, which is what I prefer. So that's another plan I have, to replace this one with soaker hoses. And then my other method of attack is the handheld waterer. In a bed like this where I have the cucumbers, I have no irrigation in here, just because I haven't wanted to put it in. I just put it on full, but pretty gentle, and I soak the roots deeply for half a minute or so. And if I'm going to water tomato plants by hand where I don't have soaker hoses, I do the same thing. I have it on the full setting, and I'll give it 20 to 30 seconds at a time on different sides of the tomato, far enough out that I know it's stretching its roots to come get it, and then move on to the next tomato plant. It might be faster if I had better irrigation set up absolutely everywhere, but I actually appreciate the opportunity to come out here every day or every other day as the plants need it and directly water plants. Not only does it give me an opportunity to pay attention to what's going on in the area of each plant, I can see what the weed pressure is like, if there's any pest pressure happening, take care of it right away. Also, it's just relaxing to come out and do this in the morning. Usually no one's out here with me. It's quiet. The birds are just waking up, and it's the coolest part of the day right now. So I enjoy it. It doesn't bother me to have to do it. Even using the overhead sprinkler might seem like a waste. I know a lot of people, especially if you're on city water, and they tell you, it evaporates. It's not as efficient at watering. But we are on a well, and we are completely on solar power. So I'm actually not using any electricity. I have no risk of running out of water. We have a lot of water, so I am perfectly happy to use the overhead water anywhere that I can. And then there are these garden towers, which I did not set in place very level this year, so I'm not trusting the watering system that it has built into it. So every day I water it myself by hand. I transplanted multiple corn last night. There were blank spots, but then there were spots where a lot of corn came up too close. So I did transplant to fill the rows in and add a few more at this end. So I'm gonna direct water by hand this morning just to make sure the roots are good and watered again before the sun breaks out and tries to kill everything again today. So that's what my watering game looks like this year. There's other items that I want, but I'm making do with what I have. Maybe in another year or two, it'll look completely different. But that's what it looks like now in the summer of 2024. What do you do for irrigation? Do you just depend on Mother Nature, or do you supplement when needed? And how do you do it? Well, back in for the pancake breakfast now. I do pancakes once a month, so most mornings, at least 3 mornings a week, it's just smoothie, popcorn, and oatmeal for breakfast. And then once a week, I do something special. So 1 week I do pancakes, 1 week I do waffles, 1 week we do muffins, and another week we do an egg gravy. And I make enough to last for at least 2 breakfasts. So oatmeal, special breakfast, and then the other mornings, it's just some kind of stir fry with potatoes and eggs and cauliflower or broccoli or beans, usually in a burrito. So that's what our breakfasts are like. I'm in to make the pancakes now, and I'll leave you with a video of the German Shepherd, Blueberry, playing with our mountain feist puppy, Bruce. Life is work, and in the summer, it's hot, sweaty work. But I hope you remember to live joyfully.